Chairman, we all know too well the great suffering our nation is seeing due to this financial recession and crisis, and that's why it's so disappointing that unless the authors of the 2,000-page base text that we were just given had a sudden epiphany, that we have a bill before us that will thrash about the branches of the financial crisis while leaving the root cause undisturbed. The bill will clearly enshrine us as a bailout nation, ensuring future AIG-like bailouts. It grants unparalleled discretionary powers to the federal government to pick winners and losers, ushering in a new era of crony capitalism. The bill unleashes a new and costly army of Washington bureaucrats to ban and ration credit products, harming jobs and eroding consumer rights. Regrettably, the bill seems to embody the cynical statement of the President's Chief of Staff, quote, "Never let a serious crisis go to waste. It allows you to do things you could never do before." Why else would we enact a bill that, among other provisions, regulates the pay of a community bank teller who makes $20,000, imposes price controls on business-to-business interchange fees, and restricts access to payday loans, none of which had anything to do with the crisis? The root cause of our financial crisis was not deregulation, it was dumb regulation. The federal government, over many years, put into place policies that incented, strong-armed, and mandated financial institutions to loan money to people to buy homes who ultimately couldn't afford to pay the money. And too many of our fellow citizens regrettably chose, not unlike our government, to live beyond their means, and they expected their neighbors who didn't to bail them out. Of all the dumb regulation that caused our economic crisis, none was dumber than that which caused the government-sponsored enterprise monopolies that created them and gave them ever-increasing affordable housing missions. In other words, the government told them, "We will let you monopolize the housing market as long as you securitize and insure mortgages for people who cannot afford them." To make matters worse, the government separated the safety and soundness regulator from the product approval and affordable housing regulator. We know the results. Ultimately, the story of the government-sponsored enterprises is one of enriched executives, cooked books, political bullying, a massively inflated housing bubble, millions of home foreclosures, a shattered economy, and the mother of all taxpayer bailouts. And regardless of the accuracy or inaccuracy of Chairman Frank's earlier GSE history lesson, the text before us clearly protects this system by totally exempting the GSEs. This is a system that, along with FHA, now controls 95% of our mortgage market, and the bailout has cost taxpayers $147 billion and counting. Unfortunately, such bailouts of companies deemed to be too big to fail by the government will continue. To paraphrase a line from the famous Kevin Costner movie Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. The only reason to create a Wall Street bailout mechanism, as the bill clearly does, is to bail out Wall Street permanently. Now, many in this room claim the bailout mechanism will never be paid for by taxpayers, but these are the very same people who worked so many years to protect the GSEs and then told us they would never receive one dime of taxpayer money. They're the same people who told us the Social Security Trust Fund will be paid back, don't worry. They're the same people who tell us now, don't worry about the exploding national debt. They were wrong then, they are wrong now. Next, this bill creates a huge new powerful bureaucracy funded with a $500 million budget and gives it the power to unilaterally ban and ration consumer credit products. Studies show this new bureaucracy could cause interest rates paid by consumers to rise 1.5%. New jobs could be reduced by almost 5% in our economy. I've heard this from community bankers back home, like Cad Williams of East Texas National Bank, who told me, "Congressman, if I have more compliance costs and the federal government is going to limit the types of customized credit products that I can offer, we will lose jobs in Anderson County, Texas." That is probably true nationwide. Why would we enact any legislation that would harm the ability of small businesses to access credit in the midst of a credit contraction? How many more jobs have to be lost? Under this bill, it is simply inevitable that the big will get bigger, the small will get smaller, the taxpayer will get poorer, and the economy will become more political. This is a bill which has much rhetoric aimed at Wall Street, but it has too many provisions aimed at Main Street. Why is what is common knowledge to our constituents seemingly a mystery to us? And that is, the best way to end taxpayer bailouts of failed Wall Street firms is to simply end taxpayer bailouts of failed Wall Street firms. America deserves better. I yield back.